We have multi-platinum artist joining me here on the show today, rock star singer, fused hip hop and rock for the newer generation out here. Did it up big, let it rock. I made it. We can go on and on with the writing that you've also done with the artists that you work with. We have the one and only Kevin Rudolf joining me here on the show here today. Sports and hip hop with DJ Mad Max, Live 365, iHeartRadio. Kevin Rudolf, how's it going, man? Welcome to the show.
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. I see that you're working on some upcoming music, some new hits.
Yeah, man. So this is my spot. This is my studio, and yeah, I'm in grind mode right now. I kind of woke up like a couple months ago. Actually, like it was just a lot of personal stuff going on. My dad passed away, a lot of things, and
my condolences.
Yeah, so just something inside me just woke up. I think it was just realizing limited amount of time, and I think sometimes it's like, and I've seen this with a lot of friends of mine. You have some success, and then maybe some frustrations, and then you want to get back in, but you're kind, you know what I mean, you kind of lose that fire. And I think I lost it for a while. I think I was just like, I'm all right, I'm good for a minute, and but something in me just woke up, and I like the ache came back, that thing where you just like, you're going, or I was just going deeper inside just to create something. So that's where I'm at, man. I'm grinding.
I'm happy to hear that you're back at it, because I mean, you're a big part of my life growing up with Let It Rock, and I made it coming out when I was younger and collaborating with Lil Wayne, being on Cash Money, and all of a sudden I Will Not Break comes out. I think that sparked a new regime for you here. It sparked a new movement, because you saw all the comments on YouTube. It exploded. People are like, you guys are back in the studio collaborating together.
Yeah, we're doing more stuff now. I actually just sent Wayne a bunch of stuff last week, and I'm excited about that. I'm just like, I'm working and I'm sending, and I'm like, let's go with everybody, including myself.
That's big. So we got a big year from you coming up, 2022.
Yeah, we do one way or another, man. Just I'm gonna cut through.
That's huge, man.
Through, man. I'm gonna cut back through.
That's huge. And we're going to get into it all here, from your early life of growing up in New York, in the city on the Upper East Side. And my condolences again to your father, because he was a DJ and your mother was a singer.
My dad was, he had an interesting life. He started out, he was from England, and he came to Philadelphia. He was a DJ, and he took pride in he was like an MC back in the day. So an MC back in the day was not a rapper MC. It was like, he was English. He'd go, the Beatles are here, we got the Rolling Stones, we got, like an announcer. That's like the traditional MC title, master of ceremonies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then he was in the record business a little bit, and he got into different things and some horses and other, interesting stuff. But my mom was a singer. So she was in bands, and she was trying to make it happen. And she would, she was in rock bands, and then she kind of dip into some like, 90s house music and stuff like that. And, just different things. So I was watching the progression of all of it. And I think at first I was like, I don't even like music. I'm not doing that, when I was like really young, because you don't want to do anything your parents want to do. At least I didn't. And then I picked up the guitar, and I was like, okay, this could be for me. Yeah. And I was like, I just wanted to jump around with it. I didn't want to really play, I was a kid, but my grandfather, he got me the guitar. He was sort of the, financial resource in the family. And so he got me a guitar, and he said, look, I already got you that. I got your violin. All right. I got you this, I got you that. I got you skateboard. All right. I'm not doing this if you're not taking lessons. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll take lessons. And then after about 6 months, I was playing some songs, and I kind of fell in love with it, and then I just was practicing, 6 hours a day. And my mom actually told me something very, very, very powerful and simple.
What you put in, you'll get out.
Yeah. How did you know that?
I did some research.
Did I say that before? I might have said that before. I always go with that because it makes sense and it's within your control, especially in this game where so much seems out of your control sometimes. And then you You say, okay, well, I'm going to put in extra. I'm going to put in more. I'm going to put in another hour, another day, another, and then if you can outwork somebody and you have a little bit of talent and you're good at what you do, you're going to win.
Absolutely. And that's what you did there. You didn't mind putting the work in with the guitar and your music. And you could also credit the ending of Back to the Future as why you wanted to pick up a guitar
Oh
as well.
boy, he knows everything. He knows everything. Now, what am I here for? You could just yeah, it's true. I do go back to those. The reason I repeat those things, it's not like some media thing. It's just like the truth of it is those are the touchstones. Those were those moments that pushed me forward. So yeah, Back to the Future was a big one. I was like, I want to do that.
You credit Jump by Van Halen being the first song that you ever heard. I've read before.
One of the first songs that really like, I think I connected with like a lot of high energy kind of, I think that flows into what I did with my first album and Let It Rock and all those, and I Made It, where I think I was really just into empowering music, it wasn't, and I think as a kid, especially if you're a male kid, you're not sitting there going, listening to "You're the Inspiration," you want shit that makes you fucking you know what I mean? You want stuff that empowers you, that makes you feel tough and good and strong. So I think I connected with like that and Eye of the Tiger and a lot of that 80s stuff at the time, especially stuff that was connected to those movies and everything, or Rocky and all that stuff.
Survivor.
Yeah. So I think that was in there with like the Let It Rock thing. I wanted to give the underdog some power.
You did. And you did it in your own way. And you credit just the bunch of musicians that you were inspired by growing up: Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Van Halen. And you actually went to a Stevie Ray Vaughan concert when you were younger. Your mother took you to that.
No, that's not true. I didn't go to that.
Oh, you didn't go to
Someone
that?
said, no. Someone said that. Someone said that. Yeah, I actually didn't go to that. Um, I don't know that. I think it was something. There was something going on with that, but that someone. I don't know how that happened.
But you had a deep dive here of musical influences just for being in the city as well, because you were surrounded not only by rock, but hip hop.
Yeah, man. Well, I grew up in New York, so I mean, I hip hop was in the air always. Hip hop was in the air, rock and roll, because we go down the Lower East Side and see bands, and then you're uptown and there's hip hop, and there's no lines in New York. I don't know about now because I've been living in Miami for a while, but there's just there's no culture. It's very like, I would go to school with a kid who was like, an actor, and another one's a rapper, and another one's like, like a beautiful Asian girl playing violin, and then there's dancers and things, and then there's just people who just like, we're just thugs, and that's cool too. It's just whatever. It's like any and everything.
A whole mix of different people, especially from the city.
Yeah, especially from the city. A lot of cross-cultural stuff. A lot of kids also, I think, kids, I think, just burned out too quickly, like they experienced too much. I always thought it would be easier in a way, like if you grew up in Ohio and you came to the city to pursue your dreams, and we were like over it already. I was like, all right, I did that. Like, that's cool. Like, yeah, we went out to this thing and da da da. Yeah, I did that when I was 13. You know what I mean?
You're sneaking out at clubs at 13 too.
Oh yeah, we're doing everything. We're doing everything and anything, man. It was so much fun. I mean, it was like, New York City. I think it's probably just a lot more commercial now, and sort of a lot more money in there, a lot more safety, and a lot of like the core New Yorkers. I don't know if they're still there quite as much, but I felt like we were in it. Me and my friends who grew up there. Yeah.
So much has changed in New York, especially in the hip hop scene. It doesn't even sound the same. And even spoken about it today, just how much hip hop has changed. And it's kind of
Yeah.
difficult to fuse with rock nowadays because everything's all 808s and you got the trap music out here. You really can't do much with it.
I don't agree with that at all.
Really?
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. Like, I'm doing stuff like now, I'm looking at it like the other way. I think it's a better time than ever to do it, because it's so not being done at all. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I could take one of those, like a record that's trap 808s, more, less of the traditional hip hop, more like, more of the, let's call it mumble rap, if you want to call it that. And why can't I, and it's dark and it's, eerie. And why can't I put like a huge rock vocal, something soaring with, a lot of reverb and a lot of, just to flow in it? I could absolutely do that. It may not come from where you think it comes from. It may not come from just laying chunky guitars over it. It may not come from flipping the drums and making it into some rock thing. It may come from the vocal. It may come from one little other thing. It may come from subject matter. There's a million ways to make art. I think it's a better time than ever to do, because no one's fucking with it right now.
No,
Not in that same way.
you definitely be one of the first out here. Is there someone in mind that you've heard so far in the new hip hop age, in the trap era, that you think would make a perfect collaboration with you as far as a rock new hip hop track?
I don't really think of it like that. I just look at like I just make my art. You know what I mean? Although I actually really did like, what I did do the other day? There was a loop in that, that Usain Bolt record, that Kodak Black record. There's a loop in there, and I thought I could take that loop and make that into a rock record.
Mm.
No, 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 and it goes up. I was like, that would be dope. Really not to do with, anything. It was an experiment to see, musically how I could fit things in, so I tried it. It's actually pretty dope. But I'm making stuff for Wayne. I'm making stuff for, I'm all about it, man. I'm just about art. I don't have like, I don't have any lines or limits, you know what I
Like
mean?
a
As long,
single preference. You don't have a single preference.
well, of course, I mean, I'm a fan of all of it, I mean, not all of it, but I try to just be open, because when I get into times where I'm like, no, I don't like that and I don't like this, it's easy to say that with hip hop right now because it is shifting, or it's shifted. But I think it's like exciting, actually. I think it really sounds like punk rock to me. It's just what the kids are relating to. It's defiant, it's apathetic. I think it's amazing in its own right. And I think if you don't go along to a certain degree with what's happening in the world, and you get stuck in the one genre you grew up in, then you're not going to evolve either.
No. How much of an inspiration were records like Rockbox and Walk This Way by Run DMC? Because those were the hit records for the rap and hip hop and rock
Yeah, I
collaborations.
remember them on MTV. My association, so just to even to clarify the rock hip hop thing, it didn't come from like a traditional, like, okay, Steven Tyler kicks down the door in a Run DMC video. It wasn't like that. I'm gonna rock with hip hop. I never thought of it that way at all. What happened was I was a big fan of Timbaland, and a friend of mine was mixing his records and engineers, a really good friend of mine, Jimmy Douglas, and he was down in Miami. Well, so we started in New York, and I went to the studio, and it wasn't to try to get on records. It was like, I just want to absorb this. I want to learn what's going on, because to me, Timbaland was, so, first of all, huge sonic pioneer, but I was listening to those records he used to do in the ASR 10, and all the textures and just the sonics of it were just amazing to me. Like, they didn't sound, they were urban, but they were it could be rock, it could be anything. It just, to me, was just like it was some of the first really exciting music that I heard, that was successful, that was mainstream adopted, but was also like, he's doing his thing. Like, you're not gonna tell him to go any way. He's conscious. He knows he wants to make a hit record, of course, but not in the way that other people want to make a hit record. I think he wants to make it because he wants to change music. He has a vision for how radio can sound, how we can, what we can move to in the club. So I just wanted to get around him and that energy and just figure it out. So after I did that for like a couple of years, just kind of dipping in and out of the studio and working on some records, I was like, man, because I would watch him sort of dabble in rock. He would do some things that were, I think he was working on like Chris Cornell at the time from Soundgarden. He was working on a couple other things, and I just thought, man, I just want to take his drums and do my shit with those drums. Like, I just want to take the bottom of the record, the bass, the drums, and then I want to do something else on the top. So that's kind of what I did with my first artist project. I wanted to put that all together, meld that together, and that's what became that first album, really.
In the
In,
city.
in the city, yeah.
Timberland, I know you credit him as a huge music success, but you were into all kinds of acts, Dr. Dre, the Neptunes, and early Kanye as well.
I that whole early 2000s hip hop to me is one of the best, if not the best era in hip hop, at least from a production standpoint. I mean, not saying like, you have your, obviously your DJ Premier and your J Dilla and all this different, not saying one's better or worse, but for me, where I was entering, that was an amazing time. Early Kanye, Neptunes, Timbaland, that felt like something was happening. That was like just musical innovation wise. Like I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to learn it. I wanted to be in it, you know? So, and it was cool too, because on that first album, when we were mixing in Virginia Beach, ran into Chad Hugo from the Neptunes, and he was at the studio and we were like, let's make something. And we did. And that was She Can Get It on that album. And so I was like, oh man, this is so sick. I'm working with the Neptunes, working with Chad, it was a big deal to me at the time.
The jump off with Lil Kim, you had the opportunity to play guitar on as well.
Yes, I did. That was like the first thing I ever did with Timbaland. And, so many of those parts were just like, little things like that. But it wasn't about like, I didn't want to take over a record. I wanted to be in the room.
Yeah. Before everything you even started, you were actually in a group called Paint, and then you that situation didn't work out. Then you moved on your own solo. You started writing your own song, coming up with your own music, and then actually you were discovered. I believe it wasn't by Madonna, but it was someone in her camp that discovered you, and you ended up signing to Maverick, and that's how the album Binocular came about.
Yeah, that was like my first entrance into the music. That was actually right before I started, the journey into the Miami world and the Timbaland world. I was just making demos in my bedroom, and there was kind of like more of like ethereal pop thing. I was just like exploring and learning, and I was just very fortunate to get a deal, with Maverick, and it was like one of those classic things. Like everyone's excited, it's gonna be the biggest thing in the world, and then like 3 months later, you're done, But it was a good first experience, and definitely helped me figure out how I wanted to navigate my own future. I definitely wanted to be I was producing that album because I was making it myself, but I definitely wanted to be more on the producer side of things, in terms of just the, control of my own project.
Throughout the whole Maverick process, I think you actually went out to Rick Rubin's house.
I did go to Rick Rubin. Rick was, yeah, he was interested in signing me. I think, it's like the typical LA thing, when not typical in the sense that, he's incredible taste. I mean, only typical in that, like, I think someone else had been interested, and then he heard about it. And then I was, suddenly you get this like heat, and then you're going to people's, offices and houses and things like that. So it was an amazing experience. Went up there, and it was like one of those magical, mystical, musical experience. He gave me a book, and I played him a few guitar songs on guitar, and he's a cool motherfucker. He's a real cool guy. Yeah, that was cool.
He's done a lot for hip hop and especially rock. And if you think about just the work he's done with the Beastie Boys.
Oh yeah, no doubt. He's just he's everything you think he is. He's like the Zen monk of hip hop, I guess.
He really is. Just thinking about it,
Rock and roll, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just thinking
Really
about it.
So artist friendly, you know what I mean? Someone you just like, you want to sort of like, especially, at an early age, you want almost to groom you and teach you the ways of the land.
Slim was a big believer in yours from Cash Money.
Yeah. Slim was like one of that. He was that first person who just really, really believed, or at least it Cash Money in that world. I was working on he had an artist, her name was T Lopez, and he'd heard a couple songs, and he wanted to cut. It was like a pop song, it was like a Latin girl pop song. So we're recording the song, and I remember we're in my little apartment, and then Slim pulls up downstairs and wants to hear the mix and everything. So I'll bring it down. He's gonna play it, and I said, look, you know, I want to also give you what I'm working on as an artist. Just, you know, I want you to check it out. Love you to hear it, and that's how we started building. You know,
You
we
started building from there.
yeah, he loved that song Coffee and Donuts, which was on my first album a lot, and then it was just a process of putting in the work, and you know, every few weeks it'd go by, and you know, bring maybe two, three, four new songs, say, here, this is what I'm doing, you know, check this out, and it's you know, just thinking back, and also parallel to where I'm at now in a way, it's almost like it just goes back to putting in the work, you know,
Mhm.
and you just get better, and you just keep going.
And that's what you're doing, especially here in 2022 from that point on. But Let It Rock. Tell me the story behind Let It Rock and how this record came about, because Lil Wayne heard the record, he got on it, but you guys actually met in a club after a performance, and he was like, Rudolph, you're Kevin Rudolph?
Yeah, boy, you know everything. You know everything. Why am I here?
To share your story on my platform.
I'm playing. No, it's amazing. Like, it's amazing. Um, yeah. So I think it was actually there. I was doing some beats. A friend of mine had brought over a New York rapper, and was gonna pay me some money for some beats. And so I made him something. Nah, that's not it. Made him something else. No, that's not it. And then one of the beats that I made him was the beat for Let It Rock. And he said, that's dope, but I don't really hear like a rapper on the floor on the floor. Remember, this is 2008. So, you know, and again, probably not now either, but again, there was a time period where you know, that could fly. So I just took the beat. I started just mumbling over it, and it was just like, you know, that flow. And it took me about probably 3 months to write it, because I thought, I don't want to even use my brain to write this song. I want to channel everything. Like, I want every line to be pure. So I don't want anything to come from my intellect. I want it all to come from like spirit, you know, you let it come to you. So I'll just keep doing that flow, and I'd write down little lyrics and little lines, and this part and that part, and then just sort of piece it together until it felt like it was right. Um, Slim, we were gonna get Wayne. Wayne was gonna get on In the City, and my vision was this. Okay, this be like this viral, like this, like it was like Zeppelin, like Jay-Z, like grimy rock song, you know. And then he didn't get on it for the longest time. Like, it just didn't happen. And then one night I was with Slim, and Slim said, "What do you think about Wayne getting on that Let It Rock record?" I said, "Man, I don't care. Like, I just want to be a part of what you're doing. I want to be a part of what Wayne's doing. I don't care what song we do, whatever, man. I want to be in the family. I just want to get music out, you know, and I would love Wayne to be on anything I have, honestly." And he said, "Okay, let's do it." And he called Wayne, and he did it that night. So yeah, so it was just, I was like, oh, I was like relieved, and like, this is amazing, you know. And yeah, there's always been some kind of chemistry when we're on a record together, you know. Um,
Absolutely.
very grateful for you know, having had him on, you know, done records with him over, you know, over the years.
We know what you're capable of doing. We know what you and Wayne, especially Wayne by himself, is capable of doing. Did you know, as soon as you heard the ending of the recording of Let It Rock, did you know that this was going to be the one? Did you expect this one to be blow up and be your number one hit?
I didn't know anything about like radio kind of receptivity, or what that meant. I just thought, whatever this is like, this is gonna be big, you know. And this is like, I gotta get on the I'm gonna get on the roller coaster here, and this is gonna be big. This is going to get heard. I don't know how big, I don't know in what form. I thought it was more of an underground, like, alternative record. I don't think anybody, maybe Slim was looking at like a pop record, but I didn't expect to be on the radio at all. I didn't expect to be like doing radio shows, Z100 and Kiss. Like I didn't think that was the way things were going to go. I thought it was really more of some kind of like defiant, weird, I don't know, record. You know, I just didn't hear it as like a pop record, but that's the way it went. And, you know, it's pretty cool.
It got you all types of performances, the NBA All-Star Game of 2009, and even the Miss USA pageant.
Yeah. 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 Made the rounds of all kinds of, you know, it's fun when when you have a big record and you know, everyone wants you to, you know, perform. It's great. Yeah.
You're signed to Cash Money at the time, and this was right before Drake and Nicki Minaj, the whole splurge that they had and explosion onto the music scene. Do you remember meeting Drake for the first time?
Yeah. I met Drake, Nicki, I mean, everyone, you know, everyone was cool. Everyone was like, it was all part of the family, you know. It wasn't like there was, you know, I mean, now obviously those artists have completely exploded. Um, but at the time it was just like, yo, this is he's on Young Money, yo, this is so and so, yo, this is Gutter, yo, this is this one, this is Drake, you know what I mean? So I didn't think much of it, you know. At the time everyone was cool, everyone was so you know, really nice. And you know, it's a good family to be part of, the Cash Money family. I really enjoyed my time there. I really did.
And you could tell that you did. You always have a great collaboration with those artists, and we're going to get into the I Made It record in a second. But I read online, did you help out in any of the recording process? I don't know if this is true or not. I want you to clarify that. On Drake's album, Thank Me Later, did you help out in any way? Okay,
Nope,
yeah. Just wanted to
nothing,
clarify that.
you know, nothing to do with it at all. And you know, I would have loved to have been a part of it. You know, it's hard when you know, I was producing other acts, and I was doing my own album, and you know, you're doing so much stuff. And plus he, you know, he has a lot of people in his circle. You know, he's you know, he's doing just fine without whatever I was doing at the time. So but I think I was making my album. I would have loved to have I would have loved to have gone in there. But you know, yeah.
I Made It comes out, Cash Money Heroes, and Birdman. He wanted to get everyone on there. Jay Sean, Lil Wayne, in which he did get those guys on there, and he jumped on there himself. But he wanted Drake on there. Drake wasn't on the official version when it released, but if you look on YouTube, you see all these remixes with a Drake verse on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I gotta check that out. Yeah, no, he was his. I mean, I love, you know, that's the thing about Baby. You know, he has that. He's always thinking so big. You know what I mean? So he's like, I want everyone on there. I want Nicki. I want Drake. I want Wayne. I want. You know, it was never gonna be my record. It was supposed to be called Cash Money Heroes. That's why it was called in parentheses Cash Money Heroes, because it was just supposed to be almost like a new group, right? And the group would be called Cash Money Heroes. And then you know, we had the song mixed and everything. And people from Universal, man, I love your new record, man. I was like, oh, it's not really mine. It's like Cash Money Heroes, you know. I just did the hook and the beat. And then it became my record. So it's cool though. Showbiz.
And that record took off for you, and it actually became the main theme for WrestleMania 26.
Yeah, yeah. Those guys have been really supportive at WWE. Yeah,
Can you
they've
feel
always,
me was featured in tables, ladders, and chairs.
yeah, yeah. They've been really supportive. They're great guys there. You know, I like the way they run their whole ship. It's real cool. Super, like, it's just like real tight, and like it's they've been just supportive with the music. You know, those guys are awesome.
What's your vision of making it? Because if you listen on I Made It, no one believed in me, but I never gave up the fight.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I think it's the same thing even when you have made it, or whatever level you've made it on. You know, there is no. I don't think there is a making it. You know, you just keep working, you keep moving. Yes, it's great to make money. Yes, it's great to be on the charts, but you know, you don't. There's no free ride. You know, no one says, okay, sit here and just relax. You've made it. You no longer need to do anything at all. You can just sit here and, you know, it doesn't work like that. And I think that's why, you know, anyone you've probably talked to in the game knows that. And then things slide, and then you want to get back in, or you decide you're going to quit, and that's, you can always do that. But that's not, you're not going to do that if this is what you do.
No.
And I don't think there's ever, I think it's just a mountain you keep climbing. I don't think there is a made it. You know, obviously there's a difference between sitting in your bedroom and being broke and being on the charts, but you have to work even harder when you're on the charts. You don't work less, you're working much harder. And there's more pressure, and there's people loving you and people hating you, and expectations, and people in your head saying, "Oh man, this record would have been, shouldn't have done that, man. You shouldn't have done it with the features. It would have been bigger. Or you should have done that. Or you could have done that. You should have flipped the beat this way." You know, you got all that stuff going on. So you just got to be laser focused on what you want, who you are, and what you're doing.
And that's what you've continued to do. And once you get into it with your album, you actually had the opportunity to work with Nas on N.Y.C, one of the greatest hip hop artists of all
Yeah,
time.
very
And
fortunate.
right there, you felt as though that it was just that was you right there. You were solidified.
I was just, you know, I just felt so blessed, to be included in that world, and it was like a blessing. It literally came from the sky, um and he's a cool person. I was very fortunate to have him on it. Yeah.
Amazing. The Illmatic, Mr.
Oh,
Illmatic is on that album. In the
legend.
City. Crazy.
He's a legend. Yeah.
To the Sky album, What Do You Got That I Don't Got, as an inspiration, because it's basically you have to be satisfied with yourself in this game. Don't look at someone else's career and what they have.
Yeah, you can't. You have to focus on what you're doing. You cannot look left and right. It's easy to, but you can't do it. You have to just put your head down and do the work, and good things come, when you put energy out. I always say, like, the universe needs proof of work. You have to put it in, and that's what I'm doing.
After you fulfill your contract with Cash Money, you had to go after use a different name because you couldn't use Kevin Rudolph, so you had to use the name Space Rock.
Yeah, I dropped a single right after, and then everything was cleared up, and then I went back to dropping, new music as Kevin Rudolph, and yeah, that's the answer to that. There's no other answer.
After that, you actually signed a deal with Primary Wave Music.
No, they were. I mean, yeah, they were managing me for a short period of time. They're great guys. I think we, just sort of tried something, and and that lasted like about 6 months or so.
Then you went out to LA and you started writing music. Ava Max, Weezer, Selena Gomez. You started going out to LA and writing for other artists.
Yeah, I was doing. I've always been writing for other artists. I moved to Nashville for a time period. Had a number one with Keith Urban called "Little Bit of Everything," and done LA, and yeah, man, it just again, just keep making music.
When you came back to NY, you got inspired to make your own music again, I heard.
Yeah, I think it was just connecting with my roots, and being back in the city, picking up that energy again. And a lot of what was in on the first album, In the City, was N.Y.C. That was my, growing up in New York was my uh like reference point. I don't say muse because that sort of refers to like a person, but that was the picture I had in my head of me growing up in New York and everything I wanted to say in that album.
What are your thoughts on when there are rock artists in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame who critique hip hop artists who are in there and say that hip hop artists shouldn't be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, knowing that you've worked with talented acts such as Lil Wayne, who could play the guitar and have made rock albums? What are your thoughts on when artists who are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame discredit hip hop artists and being in there?
Well, I think they should shut the fuck up and just mind their own, and why, if you're in there and you're fortunate enough to be in there, then what do you can't, what are you gonna say about someone else? It's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because rock and roll was a predecessor in a way to hip hop, I guess you could say. But it's just what people call things. I think it's just a title. It's the Music Hall of Fame. I don't think it really means rock and roll and you can't come in here because you're a rapper. I don't think anybody thinks that. If they do, then they're just ignorant.
I agree with you on that. Have you and Wayne discussed a possible collab album ever or in the near future, such as a In the City and Rebirth, all mashed up on one album? Has there been talks about that before? Because you
I think,
guys have such great chemistry.
yeah, I mean, there's no mashup. I mean, he's just simple. Like, you know, you send him music. If he fucks with it, then he's gonna get on it. And if he doesn't, keep it moving. Send something else. You know, he's in the studio all the time and he's working, and that's it. So I don't think there's necessarily any plan in place like that.
But you guys got that chemistry out there. You're in the social media age, digital age now. You were booming back way before social media was popping, but now I see that you got your own TikTok going. So how is it adjusting to this new technology, social media stage? Because I've heard you say that you should treat your Spotify as your Instagram page.
I said that. Oh yes, yes, and I was trying to make sense of what I may have said. Yeah, I do think that. I think it's just about putting up a lot of new music, and I'm really just very new to TikTok, so I need to continue to ramp up my ticking and my talking. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work to do as an artist. There's a lot of ways to connect with your fans, and you got to keep it up, and you got to give them a lot of stuff. So yeah, I'm in it. Kevin Rudolf, find me at all social medias.
You're a big movie guy, and you always felt as though you can direct, and I think you have even had the opportunity to have your say in your own music videos as well in directing. I've read.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a dream to write and direct a film. I don't know if I'm there right now in terms of I feel like I gotta, you know, I have to get more momentum back music wise. You know, I don't know if it's time to like venture off into something else this second. But I was working on a book, and I would like to write a script and do a film someday. Something I just love film so much that I feel like I'd be able to do something special. I'd like to hope.
And you even retweeted recently about Quentin Tarantino's quote, "Why would you work on? Why would I work on someone else's stupid movie when I can work on my own stupid movie?"
Yeah, I loved that. I think someone had asked him about would you be an actor in someone else's movie, and that's what he said. He said, well, sure, but why am I going to work on your stupid movie when I can work on my own stupid movie? Which makes sense, you know. Doesn't mean you don't collaborate, of course. It just means that I think it just means stay with your own vision, whatever that may be, and your vision may be collaborating. So but stay with who you are, stay with your vision.
What
So
type of film script would you consider writing? Because it's something that you always were interested in doing.
oh, I would do something probably you'd never expect from me. I'd probably do something like super slow and like, you know, some kind of like French film or something like that that just has a lot of space and very little dialogue and just very cinematic. I don't think you'd be getting like what you think, like it would not be some action movie or something like that. It would be something like super artsy.
A drama?
I don't know. I don't know if we'd even have a plot. I would just do something. I want to do like an experimental film.
That'll be interesting. And I'm sure whatever it is, you'll succeed at for sure. Because seeing everything that you succeeded at in your career, I'm sure you will. But you got a hybrid memoir novel on the way that you're writing.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to sort of tell some of the story about how I came to Miami, and it's not typically what you would think. It's not. It's a lot about the Cash Money experience and a lot about living in Miami and going through the process of making my album and the journey of that. But it's not necessarily, you know, a play by play what you think. It's a lot of sort of it's a lot of humor and it's a lot of observation, and it's not just the play by play of the story. It's sort of a twist on it.
What was the wildest story, if you can think of being in the studio with Wayne and the artist from Cash Money?
Um, it's always wild. I mean, I don't know what, it's never wild. It's not, I don't know. It's, I say read the book.
Read the.
No, no, no. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's just that, you know, those guys are in their own world, and it's a cool world that they've created, and anything can happen in that world. But I will, on a very um, positive thought process about it, is that they I think they just believe they can do anything, and I mean that in an amazing way. And I think you pick up on that energy being a part of that. You know, they feel like untouchable, and it's in a good way. You know, it's a cool thing. It made me feel that way also, being a part of it. You know, you feel like when you put out a record, you be like, this is gonna go, let's do this, let's go. You know what I mean? There's always that up energy, and they believe in themselves, and I love that. You know, you kind of get that by being around it, and it gives you a feeling, or it gave me a feeling. You know, when I go back to make a record, I'm like, this is the shit. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be huge. You know, you wear that confidence, and that was probably one of the coolest parts about being around that whole situation.
And the most important thing is that they saw your vision, because they gave you that platform in which you signed with them, because they let you have creative freedom, creative reign.
I don't think anyone there has any kind of, like, no one's controlling anyone there. That's the best part about it. There's no one calling saying, hey, Kevin, we love the record, but you know, the snare drum's a little loud. They're just like, they feel music, you know, they just feel, they go, I like that. I fuck with that. I like that. That's going to be big. Let's go. Let's make it happen. There's never any, I always thought, some people thought like, oh, he's like this white guy signed to Cash Money and they're like control. It's not that way at all. It's actually really a very cool, free, creative space to be in. You know, no one says anything. You just make your art. How they gonna, they look at it like, how am I gonna tell an artist how to make art?
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. What do you say to the statement when people out there, because you're even trying to make music like the Stones now? What is it that you could say when you hear people say that rock and roll is dead?
I don't think rock and roll is dead. I just think it's not on the main stage of the youth culture. It's not dead. There's a lot of bands selling out arenas and stadiums and doing huge festivals. A lot of great bands, a lot of older bands that are still, you know, as successful in terms of being able to draw a huge crowd. Is it in the top 10 of charting music? No, it's not. It's pop and it's hip hop, really. Um, but to me, rock and roll in the classic sense is, yeah, it's loud guitars and drums and rock and roll, but rock and roll is also attitude, right? So rock and roll attitude is embodied. Future has a rock and roll attitude. Lil Wayne, rock and roll attitude. You know, these artists, they have a rock and roll attitude. And I think a rock and roll that is, it's just clothed differently, you know, production wise and sonically. Um, and rock and roll could sound, you know, maybe like new kids growing up now could sound like their parents' music. So I understand that they want something that embodies the attitude, but is different. So I love rock and roll won't die, and I don't think it has died. It's just
It's just not
different.
on that mainstream level, like you said.
It's just different, and also, like, I don't, you know, I don't think there's been a lot of innovation in rock and roll. And I think rock and roll also, at its best almost now, even with some of the newer bands, is very derivative. So the bands, I think that a lot of the kids like a Greta Van Fleet or something like that, they're complete, you know, they're very derivative of a Led Zeppelin or other bands that are out. And then there's some bands that are from the last, you know, 10, 15 years, like a Kings of Leon, still do amazing records. And it's just I think there's room for everybody, you know, I really do. And things can live in different places. Maybe you don't see it on the charts or on the Spotify charts or whatever it may be, but they may be able to fill 40,000 people or 30,000 people in an arena. And it doesn't mean are they irrelevant? No. Like the charts are the charts, live shows are live shows, streaming is streaming. They're just different fragmented pockets of things. Oh man, I see stuff on Spotify. There's like classical music with hundreds of millions of streams on Spotify. I mean, that's amazing to me that you can, because I think like even as much as like 5 or 10 years ago, what is that selling? You know, like how is that generate? Obviously, you know, most of those composers are dead, but I'm just talking about in terms of the music, or even ambient new age music, soothing music. These are records that might sell like 3,500 copies a year as a CD back in the day, and now have hundreds of millions of streams. They're on people's sleeping playlists, whatever it may be, meditation. But there's a place for that music and to be successful and make money. And that's cool. That's the coolest part of streaming in my eyes, that there's a lot of music that you can try, consume without buying, and make it a part of your life. And that you realize how many people love music, are listening to it and enjoying it in ways that you didn't expect.
Have you thought about expanding into other genres, because you see music is music? You work with Keith Urban with country. Have you thought about working in other genres such as reggae or even R&B? Because reggae, I've heard you said you love listening on your own free time.
I love reggae. If something came up, if an opportunity came up and it felt right and was right, something I would love to do. I love reggae. I just think I love that it's sort of like this, it lives out of judgment. You know what I mean? It's like you can say anything in it, you know? And I just think it's like, I think a lot of it's, to me, it's just soothing, you know? It's just soothing music. It just makes me feel good. It makes me feel happy. And I love reggae. Yeah.
We
I
got to
love
get that Kevin Rudolf Shaggy collaboration.
Good. Actually, we did something. We did something like years ago.
Really? I never heard this. How was this?
I don't remember what it was called. Probably like 2008. Like it was like around a long time ago. Yeah, I think I did a hook and he did a hook or something like that. Maybe I did a beat. I can't even remember. Yeah, but no, we did something. We did something.
Wow, that's major. Major for you, man. What is your proudest achievement thus far throughout your career?
Through my career, that I still love doing it.
Never
That's
lost
where
the
I'm
love and
at.
passion for it.
Yeah, that I still love making music, and I was able to make an impact and hopefully continue to make an impact. I think now thinking about it, I think the proudest that I felt was when people would come to me and they said also, like when they would listen to Let It Rock, when that was in its height, they would say, it didn't, when I listened to that song, it didn't make me want to be a rock star. It made me feel like I already was a rock star. And I think you know, I think at the core of what I want to do musically and artistically is make people feel good and powerful and strong, and feeling like they can overcome something in their lives or whatever they may be going through. I think I've been realizing that lately. That's at the core of what I want to put into the world, is giving people strength.
Salute to you on that. Props to you on that. And he's hearing those comments, because that means a lot, because you're really a bright light in these people's lives, especially if they're going through dark times. That's a huge impact that you're having on people. Salute to you on that. Any upcoming performances that you have, and just how you're going through this COVID situation? I know there's some restrictions out here, but things have opened up pretty much as far as performances go. Any upcoming performances for you?
No, I'm just in the studio right now. I'm just trying to use every waking second to just make stuff and just crank it out, and that's where my head's at right now. I just want to make use of every moment to do something, because I felt like I was not doing that for a long time, and I'm playing catch up.
And we're looking forward to it. When can we expect, do you think, if there's a timetable? You don't got to say, oh, it's dropping in July. When do you think that your next album will be released? Will you be releasing it?
I don't know right now. I may just drop a bunch more singles. It may be an album. I don't want to think too much about that right now. I just want to finish the records and keep going and and just put music out and hopefully, you know, continue to move people. Yeah,
That's
man.
right. Kevin Rudolf, anything else you want to let the audience know, your fans know, the listeners know that we didn't cover here today?
Um, all just much love. I appreciate everybody and anybody who you know listens to what I do, and I wanna keep putting great music out and hopefully not disappoint anybody. And you can find me Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Kevin Rudolf, and all those places. So yeah, follow me and continue to build.
I'm looking forward to the new music. You're always welcome on the show anytime you have some new material that you want to promote, especially when you get
Yeah,
that
man, love
hybrid
to.
memoir novel too. That's I'm gonna
Yeah,
read
man.
through that.
Yeah. I appreciate everything. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for everything that you've done for
Thank you for
rock and
having me,
roll
man.
and for hip
Thank
hop. Oh man, of course. Anytime, man. Thank you for coming on the show here today. I appreciate your time and all
Yeah,
the
let's do it
timeless
again
music.
soon. Let's do it
Yeah,
again soon.
for sure,
Okay, man.
man. Well, I'll keep in touch with you.
Please do. All
Yeah, man. Peace out.
right.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. All
Yeah.
right, be good.